It is
Recording in progress.
sorry. Hello and welcome to our Tuesday 2:00 consent agenda. It is 2:06. We are running just a little behind. Let the record reflect that all three commissioners are present. And I am going to start with an open public forum. So this is for anyone who wishes to testify on any item other than what's on our agenda today. So I'll open it up. *9 to unmute, raise your hand, or I'm looking in the audience if anyone's wanting to come forward. Second call for anyone wishing to discuss any items that are not on our agenda today. Third and final call. Seeing none, I will close the open public forum and I will let people know that we did not receive any written comments on any of our agenda items that are scheduled on our agenda for today. And I will look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the consent agenda items A through CC as double Charlie as it appears on our consent agenda today.
I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve items number 2A through CC on today's agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will then take us to our two public hearing items. The first one is a public hearing in the matter concerning the proposal to dispose of certain miscellaneous personal and county property by auction, recycling, or destruction, project number P12910. And Carrie Misano from purchasing is going to be speaking about it.
All right, so project 12910 is a request for the board to declare as surplus those items listed in the attached spreadsheet and authorize their disposition by auction, recycling, or destruction as specified by the various department heads. All IT items have been approved by the IT director, and actually I think it was Gary did it this time, after salvaging any usable parts and that are being recycled. I'm respectfully requesting that you approve these items and their disposition. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? No, seeing
Okay.
none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, since this is a public hearing item, I will open it up for public testimony. So this is first call for public comments in the matter concerning the proposal to dispose of certain miscellaneous personal county property by auction, recycling, or destruction, project number P12910. *9 to unmute or raise your hand if you're on Zoom. See no one in the audience. Second call. Third and final call. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the proposal to dispose of certain miscellaneous personal county property by auction, recycling, or destruction as identified in project number P like in Peter 12910.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will take us to item number 3B on today's agenda, which is a public hearing in the matter of enacting a commercial property assessed clean energy and resiliency CPACER program within Spokane County and providing for other matters properly reflecting thereto. And I believe James Moore is going to give us a brief description.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Yep, it is on. This is the CPACER program that we briefed earlier last month, and we're looking to further be able to provide opportunity for the community regarding for renewable energies and upgrading existing properties. And so you'll see in the CPACER program that we've reviewed prior, it provides a loan incentive for long-term loan, low interest rate, and with a minor fee and application process through the county that gets recorded against the parcel.
Any questions for James?
Not really a question, but just want to applaud your work and the work of staff in terms of dealing with this issue. This is an opportunity that originally came to the state of Washington to try and assist in the remodeling of our buildings to make them more energy efficient and to more effectively respond to change in climate and change in energy costs. And I know that this ultimately, when passed, had some challenges in it. We did go back to the legislature and get the original legislation fixed so that we could actually implement the program. And I believe that we're the first county in eastern Washington to adopt this program. So I could be wrong on that, but it's my understanding that we are the first.
I believe that we're probably the first, Commissioner.
Yeah, so just want to thank staff for all your work and trying to bring this forward, and hopefully this will be a big asset for our community, and especially existing buildings that need to go through a retrofit to be able to become more energy efficient. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will open up the public hearing in the matter of enacting a commercial property assessed clean energy and resiliency program, CPACER, within Spokane County and providing for other matters properly thereto. So I will now open that public hearing. Star 9 again to unmute or raise your hand, or anyone in the audience. Second call for anyone wishing to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. Wait, we do have somebody.
Hello, commissioners. Are you able to hear me?
We are, thank you. Can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Clifton Kellogg, and I am the executive director of the CPACE Alliance, which is a trade association for the industry of CPACE and CPACER across the country. Shall I proceed with a minute of comments?
Yes, you have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Our membership includes the vast majority of the companies that provide the investment capital for these types of investments. There is no government funding at risk at all in these CPACER projects, and we are very excited and enthusiastic about this program coming to the state of Washington, and we agree with the Commissioner French that it was important to make the clarifications in the statute. And so I wanted to extend our appreciation to the commissioners and also to the staff who worked on bringing this project forward, and also say that our members are looking forward to financing projects that will bring jobs and private investment, as well as energy savings to the property owners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. So we do have someone else. Michael, if you would like to state your name for the record.
Thank you. I'm Michael Yaki. I'm with Petrus. I'm the Senior Vice President and Senior Counsel for Petrus Pace Finance. I want to thank the Commission for their work today. I want to thank Commissioner French in particular for working with me and the Prosecuting Attorney's Office on this program. I actually helped write the initial CPACER statute in Washington, and as well as to fix it. We have already financed the first CPACE financings in King County and in Clark County, and we have a project in Spokane, and we're very, very hopeful that we'll also be the first to finance in Spokane as well. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for putting this on the agenda. And I also want to do a special shout out to the auditor, Vicki Dalton, who was a big supporter of us in the first go round in 2020 when we initially passed the CPACER bill. So thank you all very much, and thank you for your support.
Great. Thank you. Is there anyone else who's wishing to, oh, I see Eric.
Yes, just like to echo Michael's gratitude for all of your work, commissioners, and all of the work of the staff bringing it to this point. This is a very exciting time, not just for me as a project developer with several projects that are awaiting financing, but also for the commercial property industry that can use this financing mechanism to really comply with a lot of the statutes that the state of Washington has pushed down.
Very good. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, we appreciate the testimony. Thank you very much. With that, I think that was my third and final call. So I will close the public hearing and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the enacting of commercial property assessed clean energy and resiliency, otherwise known as CPACER program within Spokane County, and providing for other matters properly relating thereto as presented today.
I will second the motion.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments?
Yeah, I'll just, like has been said by everybody, thank you to staff. It was a long, long road to get here, a couple of years in the making, passing a bill, then having to pass another bill to fix the first bill. but it's finally done there. So just kudos to everybody involved. Kudos to our staff for all their hard work to give us a good, clean resolution to pass today, or ordinance to pass today.
Very good. Seeing no other comments, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. With that, that does conclude our 2 o'clock consent agenda. We do have a continuation from our meeting yesterday that will occur after we sign some documents here, and we will go back over to our conference room and continue our meeting at that point. So I would anticipate we probably will take till 2:30 to get us back over in the conference room. Thank you. My signal. Okay, welcome back. It is 2:33 and we are reconvening from our, I believe our meeting yesterday. Is that what we're reconvening from? So it is Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. And again, it's 2:33. Let the record reflect that all 3 commissioners are present in our executive management team. We are going to take a miscellaneous item to start with. And so Scott, I'll let you brief the miscellaneous item.
So this is the letter of support for the Department of Commerce right-of-way grant. Jeff talked about this yesterday. This was for a 30% ask to Commerce that requires a multi-jurisdictional kind of support for this. The letter that we have received from the city includes signatures for the mayor, Council President Brian Biggs, Councilmember Lori Kinnear, and Councilmember Zach Sapone. Our understanding is the city council did not take this up as an action at their legislative meeting last night. But there is at least support from 3 of the council members to support this grant. And the letter that is in front of you for consideration, board, is a letter from the 3 of you, which would provide some words of support for the 30% ask, with the city of Spokane being the fiscal agent. And again, it is only for 30% of the funds that are ultimately available through the right-of-way grant. I believe it's 7.22 million.
Any other thoughts? We talked about this a little bit yesterday, since the council didn't take action, but we know that we do have these council members and the council president who have signed it. And I believe one of the commissioners has talked to a fellow council member there. So that is in support of just the 30%. Are we all good with that? And if we are, then I need a motion to
Madam Chair, I would move that we approve the signing of the letter presented to Mr. Ted Kelleher, Senior Managing Director, Housing Assistance Unit, Community Services and Housing Division, Washington State Department of Commerce, by all three county commissioners.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Any other discussion? And then I will open it up because we're going to take final action on this. So then I will open it up to anyone that is on the line that would like to speak to this issue. First call for anyone wishing to speak to this issue. You can *9 to unmute if you're on your phone, raise your hand, or I'm looking around the room. Second call for anyone wishing to comment. Third and final chance to comment on this letter that we're going to be signing. Seeing none, I am going to close the public comment and we will sign the letter. Oh, now you need to take a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Now we sign the letter. Thank you very much for letting us take that a little sooner. So, there we go. Okay. So that's going to take us to Todd Milkey.
Great. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, my name is Todd Milkey. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. With me today is Deputy Sky Ortiz, one of our, not just a deputy in the area, but also one of our EVOC instructors that works in this program as well. What we have before you today is a use agreement to utilize the former Spokane County Raceway, now the Kalispell Raceway. I'm not sure what the official title is that they go by. Raceway Park. And so anyway, as you know, that facility has not only the drag track, but it's got a road course as well that provides unique opportunities for us for training purposes. As part of peace officer certification, law enforcement officers in the state are required to stay up on several skill sets. One of those is emergency vehicle operation. So as part of our annual in service, we do it 4 times a year, total 40 hours plus whatever else the legislature adds to that menu. Part of that is EVOC training to stay up on vehicle skills. Recently, we have entered into discussions with the Kalispell tribe to use that facility for purposes of EVOC training. In the past, we've used the Deer Park Airport for this type of training, but frankly, the track on the West Plains provides us a road course that gives us different and we think better training opportunities than what we have available to us out of the Deer Park Airport. The use agreement is simply one that defines the terms, when we can use it, how we use it, what permissions we need to get. Most importantly, it has an indemnification clause because whenever you're doing training, you want to make sure that if something happens that we didn't anticipate, that we've covered all of our bases for insurance purposes. The other thing that you will note is there is no cost in this agreement. And so this is simply one where we provide the training in exchange for them providing the facility. We also allow them to incorporate their law enforcement officers in the EVOC training courses when we're out on site. That's kind of the general overview. If you've got specific questions with regard to the type of training that we're doing or anything else, I think Deputy Ortiz is probably best situated to answer those questions.
I'm happy just to let you talk about it if you'd like to.
Oh, yes. Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you very much for allowing me here. So the reason that we are focusing on the raceway there is to get our trainees and our deputies up to speed while navigating like we do working the normal road patrol situations, especially for high-risk vehicle stops, setting spike strips, maintaining vehicle speed with a suspect vehicle in our high-risk emergent type situations where we are needed to keep them in sight. We are needed to stay close to them. This track does provide that, to whereas Deer Park and even our own Spokane County Raceway, our own new training facility track, it's not going to be able to extend it to meet what Washington State Patrol does on their track and their training. So it does have many highlights that we will need in order to keep our deputies up with the changing times.
Thank you. Great. And then has this been approved by risk management as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And legal.
Yep.
Okay.
On risk management.
No, on legal.
I gotta remember if this one went to Binger or if I went to Casey. I need to go back to the email trail. And this is one that, you know, I just recognized that we were getting ready to use it, and I asked our training director, it's like, do we have an agreement in place? Because we got insurance considerations, and that's what started the ball rolling, to get something in writing.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's
Yes.
nice of you to have.
Next week's consent agenda then?
Should be on next week's, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. My understanding was it was originally going to be on the consent agenda this week. We wanted to update kind of a briefing and then push it to next week for consent.
Very good. And the working with the Kalispell tribe, they're doing it at no cost.
Correct.
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 Okay. Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Thank you for coming. Okay, it's gonna take us next to Mike Sparber.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Mike Sparker. I'm the Senior Director of Law and Justice. And today I'm going to provide you with an update on just some of the things that we've been working on in the Law and Justice Office since assuming the role as Senior Director. Can you go to the next slide, please? One of the things that we're going to talk about is first the Law and Justice Office composition and what we've been working towards. I'm going to touch on the Law and Justice Safety and Justice Challenge of the MacArthur Foundation, some of the initiatives that are in place, and what I've discovered since I've been in the role, the SRLJC, and this new composition based on the new resolution by the county commissioners, some county level initiatives that I'm working on as well, and then I could end there with questions, but I also have some population demographic and time events in the part of it. Next slide, please. So starting off, under my purview is pretrial services, detention services, and then I have budgetary oversight over counsel for defense, public defenders, medical examiner, and then also oversight over the mental health crisis stabilization contract for the county as well. Some of the justice reform initiatives I'm working on is obviously the Safety and Justice Challenge. And then along with that is a meeting regularly with their core group, which is a group of justice related folks that are centered in working with the justice reform efforts under the Safety and Justice Challenge. And also the supported release, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. And then under the county justice initiatives, of course, the blueprint of reform and all the recommendations that have been made out of that, and looking at how we can make strides in some of those recommendations for the Justice Department and moving forward with that, along with the Spokane Regional Law and Justice Council, which has been tasked with some of those tasks out of the blueprint of reform. So any questions so far? Comments? Okay. Next slide, please. So some of our high level goals are, obviously we want to develop the Law and Justice Office so that it's robust enough to handle the justice system level improvements, which includes the blueprint reform. And these are not departmental, some are departmental level initiatives, but most of them are at the county level that we need to solve for. And fostering a non-siloed approach towards solving problems and issues, and instead looking at the county level and how it impacts other departments within the county. We're going to be utilizing a lot of data, and I have Diane Lindquist underneath MacArthur Foundation, who will become one of our FTEs, along with Aaron Lind, who is also a data analyst. So we anticipate that we're going to do a lot of work on that front as far as improving our data, looking at all system-wide approaches, and then looking cross-section and how that's developed. And then also develop kind of a platform that vets the ideas, their projects, some of the departments, desires for additional staff, and some of those things that I'm a first step and a first look at those type of things under the justice side of it, and then review those before they make their way up to Scott and to your level as well. So next slide, please. So upon taking on the Safety and Justice Challenge, one of the things that I started off was evaluating the pilots and some of the initiatives that were in place and looking for their performance, where they were, how much money has been expended for them, what was the performance of them. And so that obviously involved a lot of meeting with the people that were in charge of those pilots, talking, understanding where they're going, what did they have planned for sustainability, if there was a plan for sustainability, and then understanding what some of their barriers or challenges were. And then communicating back to MacArthur Foundation, my findings, meeting with Patrick and those folks to let them know what I discovered, where I anticipated it to be in the future, and then also where I found the status of where the projects are right now. Some of those projects, there were 5 that I took on. That was a rideshare program. It was initiated by Maggie Yates, the cell phone program, which also was initiated by Maggie Yates, the hotline program initiated by Maggie Yates. Then the supported release, which was kind of in flux when I went over there. It took some legwork that we had to work our way through some of that. And I could talk a bit more about some of the things that we worked through. Then the micro grant program, which was piloted by Judge Marianne Marino and Maggie Yates. So somebody come in. Next slide, please. So if you look at the next slide, it's kind of got an overview. The rideshare program is operating. The funds end in July. All 3 courts supported it, and I'll kind of talk about that for a minute. We do think and anticipate that we're going to make a request for additional funds out of the MacArthur Foundation transfer funds to sustain that pilot. The cell phone is operating. The funds are available through August. All 3 courts do not support it. They said that it's not working very well, and I'll explain some of the stats as we go on here in just a moment. The funds for that, there's enough funds for it to go another 7 months. However, we're looking at transfer maybe of those funds over to the rideshare to help that pilot. The hotline was originally created as an opportunity during the COVID crisis for justice-involved individuals to call and get information about how to get to courts, what was going on, because there was a lot of closures during that time. Didn't have a lot of popularity. There wasn't a lot of calls that were involved with it. So they kind of changed direction midstream and developed a court reminder system. And it had originally a staff of 5 individuals. One was the lead, which was Betty Grable, did a fantastic job of overseeing it and working with Gonzaga law students and kind of managing the programs they were working through it. And you guys are probably more than familiar with what I'm talking about, just kind of an overview for you. But upon taking it over, Betty Grable resigned, and she took a job with School District 81. And then the 2 remaining law students that were working on the hotline at the time both expressed that they didn't want to continue to work on it and that they were going to go back home at the end of school. So they dropped off. So I suspended that and switched my gears over to UpTrust, which is, if you remind, is a court reminder system over in the public defender's office, which has seen some good results. I didn't know exactly what the performance was, so I had to go through a legal process, and thank you, Mark, and your team for helping with that, to get a data use agreement out of UpTrust and also from the public defender so that I could check their performance. And we could see that if we want to continue that program, look for another alternative for court date reminders, or add more money. And to be honest with you, I don't even know all the services they provide. I do know they provide a court date reminding system, but I'm not sure if the rest of them. So all of that investigation I'm going to have to do once now that we have the data use agreement in place. So questions on that before I move on? The micro grant was operated at a Better Health Together. It has two individual contracts that are offered. One is called the CAP program, and it's involved with drug abuse and finding homes for the homeless. And the other one is operated for pregnant females and helping assist pregnant females that are incarcerated, and get linked up with services and then find, suitable housing for them when they go out and so forth. There's not a lot of pregnant females incarcerated right now, so they've been kind of looking for other ways that they might be able to shift their help. And we'll work on talking through some of those things. And right now we're in the process of working with Don Hooper to develop some kind of a referral out of the jail to link them up with some of the drug assisted programs and the housing program, but it's still in the preliminary stages. So I'm still looking at that one. Supported release program went out for RFP, and I could talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. The fund amount was undetermined because we don't know what the provider would require from us, so we're waiting to try to get some feedback from the providers. It would be operated out district court. Amy Bowers already agreed to do that. It would be a 2-year pilot, and our strategy for that would be to use any remaining funds from the primary grant from MacArthur Foundation and the second grant as well to fund the program to its duration. So that is the status of the 5 programs, or the 5, I'm sorry, pilots that are operating in the MacArthur. Yeah. I'm sure.
So Mike, next week I go to NACO, the National Association of County Officials. And I think one of the things that I've been asked to attend is MacArthur lunch. So, anyway, so I will, if I need to, I'll be calling you
Okay.
for
And
any
just-
updates. And then I'll, kind of in the vendor side too, I'll look if Uptrust is there, if there's any other alternatives to that. So if there's anything else you can think of for me to pay attention to.
Or you can just let me know if you see something there and say, hey, what's the interest in that? That'd be fantastic. Just talk to MacArthur today. They have all the same information that you have, and they're, keeping their fingers crossed for the supported releases. We reissue the RFP
Okay.
and hopefully get to a broader audience than we did in the original one. I think it was pretty broad to begin with, but we're going to sure try to make it a broader audience and see if that we can do
Yeah,
that.
so if you can just let me know the names of who you specifically talked to, just in case they happen to be there,
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and Patrick is the one that oversees it. I just talked to them today. So they're well aware of what's going on. I kind of added this slide, next slide, please. To give you an idea on the cell phone, if you look at it, municipal court is on the left-hand side. They obviously were the most active with it. They had 158 phones distributed. And right now they have 34 of them that are still active. District Court at 29, and they have 5 of those that are still active. And then Superior Court started off with 107, and they have 11 that are active. So there wasn't a whole lot of support for the cell phone because they get lost. They've been stolen, misplaced. They can't figure out where the phones are. Just a sundry amount of, reasons why they don't have their telephone. And so they're not very supported. Now, municipal court did identify that they might go out because they did have some success on their FTAs with this, that they might approach their council for further funding on it and go through that strategy. I know Howard Delaney had mentioned that. So the Rideshare Initiative, I'll be honest with you, it's been pretty successful. All 3 courts really like it. What it does is it gives the clients a Uber ride to get to a point of destination locations like treatment, the county courthouse, those type of things. And doesn't Uber anywhere else. Like they can't take it out to dinner or one of those type of things. They only get to point of destination. It's been pretty successful and all the courts like it. If you look down at the bottom part of it, you'll see that court order classes in treatment. They had 874 of them. That's 42% of the ones that have been compliant. Court hearings, 27%, probation, 15%, and then UA is another 11%. So it looks like it's having some success at getting them folks back to them. And it's kind of removing that barrier. Hey, I don't have a ride. I have no way to get there. I can't possibly make it to court. So it has some impact on it. And then so they're doing the evaluation on the FTAs right now. I have Diane doing that. And we'll have a breakdown of the FTAs and how it's working for the FTAs for each of the individual courts here soon. Okay.
And do we know what the cost of the failure to appear is?
I have to give you something anecdotal. I don't know, but it's the cost of what it cost initially all over again. Essentially.
Right.
And so what we'd have to do is identify what those costs are up front, and those are the answers when I was talking before about getting county level data. That's where I'm striving for. That's the destination we're going for at that level, so that you can ask those questions and we'd have the answers for you more responsive. Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how you're going to get court data, because to my mind, one of the challenges we see is, one, you've got bond data, so you don't know how much bond is actually being asked for, if any. are you tracking that to see who's
In
been
separately.
admitted to bond? Okay,
And
and
then,
then who does it show?
yeah, so Scott has kind of benefited from all this because he's heard me talk and then talk with the individuals. We're going to try to pull all those crossover data together. So it paints a better picture at the county level. And so that's why I'm working on the office to get, the people I need to do the data work, to work with IT and to pull those things together, because there's just gets skirmish, like you're saying, bond information. There's information that comes out of the jail and all the demographics for that. But it's never, ever been placed in a format to where we can make some great decisions about it. And you all can make, your determinations based on relative data.
Would investigate bonds and how much were imposed also?
Yeah.
That'll be a thing you look
Yeah,
at.
and that was an ask on
That's gonna be
Superior
important.
Court. They want to know how the bonds were transforming to people showing back up to court or failure to appear. So we're digging into that. And then, of course, that we're working on Superior Court data as well, and workload capacity and what the impacts are, for the individual courtroom. All of that is our goal, to try to tie some of those together. It's a big lift, but we're gonna chunk it out. We're gonna get some identified, strategy with some chunks, and we're gonna take it one step at a time. Try to get to the level that we want to on those data.
And so in the rideshare, what is the time frame? I'm missing that.
I'm sorry, where you at?
On the rideshare
Yeah.
initiative, what is the time frame?
I think it's inception to date, but I can't be 100%.
I want to say the program started late fall last year.
Okay.
If I recall correctly.
Then,
Yeah.
I guess, trying to see if failures to appear have come down, just based on,
Yeah.
numbers, and I don't know, because that's all part of having the data to show whether this is working. It's like they're using rides, but is it working to really reduce the failure to appears? And then what's, if it is, then that's great.
Right.
But then it's also, what is the kind of the cost of a failure to appear, to know then, is this worth the cost? I think it is, but those are the things to really make an informed decision.
Right. Well, and that's a big barrier. A lot of them don't have transportation back and forth. And it's one of those things you certainly have to evaluate. We do have bus rides, and I think you will approve my funds for bus rides as well. Doesn't have point of destination, so it could be utilized for other reasons. But if we can get them a bus ride and X amount of them use it to actually get to court, then I think it's, those are some of the things that I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So
And I think the Ubers are, it's a bus ride is a little, you got to, if you're not used to the system, you've got to figure out what route and all of that. I think if this is helping and it's cost effective at reducing their failure to appear, I'm not opposed to the program. I just, it's just got to have the data to support.
yeah, you need to see the linkage to failure to appears, and if the program's actually accomplishing what we want it to accomplish. And the only way I could do that is by data, and that's what we're trying to develop right now. So moving on to the next slide. One of the other things that fall under my purview was the Spokane Regional Law and Justice Council. And recently you all have drafted a new resolution off of it based on feedback from the blueprint from reform and its composition and what we're looking for. Thank you very much. And from that, we elected a chair, which is Ozzy Knezovich. And then I was elected as a vice chair. We've created a small group to revise the updated bylaws. And thank you to Mark and his team. That was a very big help on that part of it. We went through all the bylaws and we tried to closely mirror the resolution to make sure that it matches up, and then look at all the areas that were previously in the bylaws and then update those as well. It was adopted by the council in June of 22. So the bylaws are in place. That's a good step forward. We posted for the victim advocate at large position. We have one applicant right now. Our plan is to meet with the applicant pre-screen for the board. And then if they look like a viable, person that we're going to send forward, then we'll send them forward to the board and the board can interview them. So that's what we're looking for as part of the process. So, and a lot of this is, is just really kind of getting our feet moving again, because it had, the period of time where you were redrafting the resolution, slowed down a little bit, and we had, some of the challenges that the previous council had. We're hoping not to reinvent those and try to move along with in a more robust strategy. And then they were a huge, tremendous help for, Ozzy was a big part of that as well on the supported release, because it gave me a good sounding board for it. We heard, and I think you all heard some challenges, some had thrown up some challenges they thought were pretty significant. And so what it did was give us an opportunity to put them all in one room and really kind of, vet those and look at them, come up with ideas. And I think ultimately it was probably through that, a combination of that and the cooperation from the justice folks that really got that push forward to an RFP. So my hat is off to those for that. Next slide. One of our biggest challenges right now is to capture all the legacy data that ISLG has put together for the MacArthur Foundation. As you know, their grant ends in December 22, and that's when my data use agreement ends as well. We want to capture that internally to make sure that we have all of that data and it's available to us as we move forward. Then the next one is kind of a wordy thing, but the justice crossover as far as departments, that goes back to solving for problems at the county level, solving it acts up here instead of departmental, and involving department heads in decision making that they see what it does upstream and downstream, so that we can kind of tie some of those pieces together that you may not know about. The sheriff's office may not know what the impact is to services. Neither does public defenders are trying to get in to see the people that don't understand what's going on at these different departments. So what we're trying to do is to bridge some of those gaps in the silos and then pull that information up at the county level and solve for X at that level. So we're working at it. I meet with the department heads and it's gone pretty well to date. The other one is a significant challenge for the IRC was the warrant process. If you recall, the prior warrant system was a laborious process. It was a piece of paper to here, to here, to here, to here. Ken Moore has helped me work on a pilot for that. And he's saying it's very near to end, which is paperless all the way to the jail. And what that does is that eventually it will go all the way to the IRC. And we won't have our law enforcement going over to police records, chasing the warrants to come back only to book them at a different place that's meant to be convenient for them. So we're working on those things as part of the process too. Working with Superior Court, as we just talked about their workload capacity and how it affects everyone else. It's part of the discussion. Example is they Ashley County identified they had 4,000 filings, I believe a month is what she had said. But they've also got a big backlog of cases that they're working that came out of the COVID era and all those other ones that are still in the jail. So there's a backlog plus the filings on top of it. So we're looking at what the impact is. How many are getting out in the 72 hours charges not filed? How many are bonding out and all those things? How many are taking up the bed space? So we're reviewing that part of it. And if we do look at the demographics of population, I can show you what I'm talking about as far as that. One problem we didn't foresee was during the COVID epidemic, most of the shuttle systems that delivered prisoners from other states to Washington state shut down. So I think right now Oregon is connecting with us, but if you go, to Montana or Idaho or some of those other places, they're not connected, so it's very limited connectivity. The system within the state of Washington, which the jail partakes of, which is going to Ellensburg, getting the folks coming this way, picking them up, and dropping off the folks at Ellensburg. It's going down to Colfax and picking up folks or some of those other things. That's working, but it's only for felons, and it's only going for felons and gross misdemeanors for domestic violence and DUIs. So it's very limited too, but it's slowly coming back as WASPIC is helping us try to get that back up and rolling. But one that's not solved, and I don't see in the near future is going to be solved, is the need for a sheriff's department to go to Texas or to go to Florida or to go to wherever to pick these people up on their warrants. So there was kind of some pushback, a little bit of we can't do it, you can't do it, those kind of things. So what we did is we tried to sit them down in the room and we look at a contract services that provides extradition from whatever location it is and moves those bodies to a series of jail back to the state of Washington. And so right now I have legal looking into that. Reese has been a big help on that part of it. I think ultimately Bigger will be the one that will do the review on it. So we're working on the legal challenges of that for that. It will help both detention services and the sheriff's office solve an issue that they're facing.
So they're independent contractors that do that.
Yes, yes. And then, of course, there's internal departments have projects and pilots that are going on that I'm overseeing as well. Next slide, please. So some other ones too, the IRC, the Take Really Center, ran into some significant staffing challenges with detention services. I think right now they're currently 33 positions down for officers and doing an enormous amount of overtime for that portion of it. Akin to that was that paperless warrant solve that we had to do, and we're trying to solve for that issue as well. And then it's about getting back into doing more collaboration with the courts and the law enforcement to try to make that a more robust, start from Jump Street when we get back out there and try to reopen it. Don't have a date for reopening it yet. Because I can't predict how well we're going to be doing with the staffing, but understand that it's not off the table. It's only suspended, and we plan to move forward when we can. So
How is the staffing going with plungers? Speaking to it.
I think our last hire was 4. And I think they have 1 in the hopper right now. Challenge is, honestly, the sheriff's office took, I think, 5 of them.
Yeah, I saw
And the
a
city,
lot of.
and the city
transferring.
police took about that many as well. And so it's been a real challenge to try to keep up with it. And then, we did talk about, look at exploring some avenues of, a sign-on bonuses and some of those things. And we're still exploring those, and some are still on the table, but I have done researching them, and I want to know the impact. If we're going to give them, a sign-on bonus of X amount of dollars, has it worked? Are we drawing the right people in? So I have Don working on the numbers for that, and he should be giving you that update in his presentation, I think next month, when he gives his detention services update. So right now it's all about the budget. Thank you, Scott. We're all working very diligently on that, and I hope to be reviewing all of those. Just an overlook them to see what they're looking for the capital and some of the other requests and staffing a week prior to the deadline, which is August 8th, I believe. Is that right? And so I did send out a correspondence to all the department heads, let them know that there's training and that there's help available to them. If they have any questions, to take part with some of that training that Tessa and those folks are providing. So it's a work in process, but we're making progress. So the work crew, we did have to suspend our work crews. It really looked like at one point we weren't have enough help to do even the fair. But we worked through those problems, and we will have enough staff to help with the fair. Thank you, Lord. And then, but the other ones, the Hoop Fest, the Bloomsday, and some of the other ones, they're probably going to fall by the wayside until we can get our staffing levels back up. We recently moved 5 of Geiger's staff from Geiger down to the jail to help offset the overtime downtown. So it's going to be, until we get the staffing levels back up to what we want, it's going to be one of those. Next slide. So
Is there any chance of recruiting from like Idaho? Over here?
Funny thing, every time we do adjust our salaries and look at our sign-on boats, they do. I mean, Cooney County's doing the same thing
So they're
because they don't want other people to jump ship. And I know even the state of Washington is up what they're doing with their corrections officers at Airway Heights because they're afraid of losing all their help as well.
okay.
So
So
I think
everyone's kind of comparable then.
Everybody's trying to figure out the solution to this problem, but everybody's having the same problem. You know what I'm saying? So,
Okay, thank you.
and then this is where I kind of left it off. I didn't know what the agenda would be. And so if there's any questions about what I covered, and then I could talk a little bit about the population demographics if you guys have an opportunity to do that. So I'm gonna have to move up closer on this one because I know that I'm not gonna be able to see the graphic back here. So I'm gonna come up by here.
You can do that.
All right. So one of the things that we have to be aware of at the jail is the admissions, people coming into the jail, and then how long they're staying, and then case disposition. And so the type of cases that come into the jail matter because they have longer lengths of stay than others. So if you look at what our highest charge are, you'll see that B felonies are the highest one coming into the jail right now. So that's that gray line up top. And then you can see that the felony is also rising and it's up in a higher level. And then you see felony C, and I have a better graph for that coming up that I could talk about felony C. And you can see that it's taken a decline. And then you can see that the gross misdemeanors are up there. So our jail is primarily full of those four things. You see what I'm saying? They're full of a felon. They're full of gross misdemeanors. They're full of holds. And then if you look at the bottom line, gross misdemeanors, and they're full of misdemeanors, which is that bottom line. But you can see the margin of misdemeanors that are being held in comparison to the rest. Okay. All right. Next slide, please. So the felony admission state guidelines, they declare different types of serious offenses. And this is based on information and things that they use. And I'm trying to stand up here, but they're listed along the bottom down here. So these felonies are listed out in different categories. If you can see that down along the bottom. And you can see that nonviolent offenses is the dominating one. And that's that class B felons that I just showed you. It was climbing on the graph over there. The next one you see is drug offenses. And as you know, in 2021, what happened? The law changed. And you could see that dramatic drop as all of those drop down to the next level. All right, violent offenses you can see is still impactful and still coming to jail, as is the sex offenders along with the serious violent crimes. So that kind of gives you a map of what I'm talking about from the graph that I showed you earlier.
Mike, can you give us just an idea what are a couple class B nonviolent felonies? I mean, that's a big chunk. What are some common
So those
charges
are going to be
that
some of
people
your
are-
more serious thefts and,
Okay.
those type of things. They're going to be some charges for B would be, I wouldn't know until I read off the list,
Okay.
Josh, but honestly, but it's just, it's not violent crimes. And
Okay.
this is the best way to describe it.
like theft, auto,
It's a felony. And
yeah.
Mark maybe even know class B felonies. Could you give some examples of like a class B felony?
Second degree assault, theft in first degree, I think is class B.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And Erin probably has a good idea too, because she works.
So they're not using like a.
It's not your more
Yeah.
egregious
Oh,
crimes that are taking place.
Yeah, burglaries are class B.
Yeah, and I can certainly get you a list of them. I mean, that would be no problem at all.
Okay.
Pull those together.
But just because something is nonviolent doesn't necessarily mean these are people that if we let out, we wouldn't realize. So I mean, these are people these are thefts, these are burglaries, these are robbery. I mean, you even said a type of, did you say assault?
Second degree
Yeah.
assault.
Second degree assault, but and that's technically nonviolent.
Well, I think they call that a violent felony, actually.
Yeah,
It's a
so-
class B felony.
Okay,
And this is from the state guidelines, so I'd have to look and see it, do it more in depth.
okay,
But I'll do that and look
Yeah.
at it. But I guess my main point there is that when you look at our overall population, it's really the majority of them are felons or domestic violence, and that's really what is taking up the space inside the jail.
Okay.
Next slide. So what does that mean to me? So if you look at these average lengths of stays, now there's always been a conversation about the average length of stay and how the outliers drive the overall length of stay for the entire population. And a lot of times that's what you'll see. So if you look at, again, based on the state guidelines, you'll look at the impacts on what the average length of stay in days and count. And then you look at this is the total down here on the bottom. So these are the averages, please. And then these right fall in with the averages length. And then these right here are some of the outliers and they're staying longer. So if you go to the next slide, I'll show you. So these are the days, length of stay in days. So when you get the more serious one, those beds are not turning over near at the rate that they were before. They're taking up a lot more time and a lot more space in the jail. And you can see that some of them were up in the 40-day range, but the majority of those and the demographic that I'm using an evaluation of increasing capacity down the road is probably about a 20-day average length of stay. And so you can see it by the graph here. That's approximately what it is. I have this by some other profiles as well, but I didn't even know if we were going to have time to discuss them. So I just threw a couple graphs in here. I do have some interesting admissions and booking slides that I showed to the mayor and let them know to see how many are readmissions, how many are coming back through. So there's a lot of slides as we get to moving along that we can provide for you for information. So I think that's the last one. Yep. So questions, and I'll try to see if I can kind of give you more examples. I'll send you an email of what,
Appreciate it.
with the breakdown. It's not about the public safety conversation. These are just different types of felons that we're talking about. And all of them obviously have public safety concerns about them. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, and I mean, what I was just trying to highlight is just because it's nonviolent does not mean that they're a risk to the community.
Sure.
The public safety would not be,
Absolutely.
hurt
Absolutely.
if they, because, I mean, unfortunately, let's be honest, we hear a lot of people out there saying, or kind of with a message of get as many people out of our jail as we can. And it's like, just because they're nonviolent doesn't mean that it wouldn't be a detriment to public safety. So.
A loot is nonviolent, and that's super dangerous. Felony loot.
Yeah. That's not violent, right?
Violent, right?
And then on those graphs too,
Maybe information.
that's by the most serious charge. They could have 5 charges that go along with that you don't see based on the most serious charge. So. Questions, Scott? Nothing? Easy. Easy. Easy.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just let me know when I'm looking for.
Sure will.
That's great.
Yep.
We can next Wednesday.
Okay, next Wednesday. All right, we'll do it, and then I'll get you some information to run on this. Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. We're way behind, so we'll just kind of keep moving along here.
Okay, this won't take long. This is a quick briefing on a bond,
And I see we've got Mr. Coven.
yes, for bond resolution for Medical Lake in the amount of 700,000. So I will turn it over to Roy to explain further what the issue is and to hopefully get it on your consent agenda for next week.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Gary, thank you very much. We're proposing a resolution for the Board of County Commissioners at their next regular meeting, authorizing the issuance of $700,000 of tax increment bonds for the Medical Lake TIF. The bond buyer will be a company called Jamison Holding Company, which is owned by Tim Welsh. This is the 4th series of bonds under the current TIF. Series 1, Series 2 are current in both principal and interest. Series 3 is current in interest and we're paying down principal. The bonds will mature on December 1, 2037. If there is insufficient TIF revenues to pay this series of bonds, they are forgiven. And the county will never be in default because payments are only due when and if revenues are available. So the risk is on the county, excuse me, the risk is on the bondholder that there will be sufficient revenues. We have conferred with Scott Bauer with respect to an interest rate. And he checked with several banks, and as a 4th series of bonds that are really a contingent obligation and that are taxable, Scott thought that the 8% interest rate was very reasonable. And that's what they requested. The bonds are, if we tried to sell these to a bank, we could not find a purchaser. And so they're not liquid. So the view was the 8% rate, considering they're contingent, they're illiquid, they may or may not be paid by maturity, was a reasonable rate of interest. So we did double check that with the county's municipal advisor to make sure the rate that they requested was a reasonable rate. That is the existing rate on the first 4 series of bonds. Any questions?
No. Do we have So I haven't seen a copy of it.
Oh, there's, Gina, you should have a copy. I've got a hard copy here, Mary, if you'd like to see it.
I had emailed that just before the 2 o'clock.
Okay, I've got this now, so, okay.
And I plan on being at your meeting in person a week from today.
Okay, very good, thank you.
And Mary, Commissioner Cooney, before you is the final resolution that we're proposing.
Thank you. I will take a look at it. I just remember having looked through the other ones when I was in the auditor's office, so I will take a look at it. Thank you.
You will find it very similar.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, Josh?
Nope, I see, I got the email from Gina at about 12:30 today, so I will read through it.
Thank you. And, any questions any members of the board or executive staff have, please shoot them my way and I'll respond promptly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Roy, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have James Warren's got something on planning stats update.
Yes. Commissioners, thank you for the time. We have a brief slide report for you. We're here to give you an update from where we saw you last time. In this case, a second quarter update, first half of the year. And we're starting to see some of the fruits of the labor of the work that's been going on in the reorganization. Next slide, please. We wanted to have kind of a quick reminder. We had talked about this a little bit last time, and there was also a time recently where Commissioner French was concerned that customers had to go different places to get parts of their permits, which was the old system in building and planning. It was a series of desks and you had to go to the health department. Sometimes you had to go upstairs. When we rebuilt the building and planning into that, what we call, sort of euphemistically, the customer service cafe, the idea was to follow almost a model where the customer comes in, is greeted, is taken to a table. What can we help you with? And then whatever happens comes back to that table. If someone from Public Works needs to come down, and especially on the permitting side, James worked to get the health district to watch our SmartGov systems in real time during the day. So if we pull something up, it needs a permit, health district is on it and they're reacting as if they're in a desk right next door. And so we really created this to be that all in one kind of shop. Next slide, please. And the other part of our service is what are we doing with our electronics and our digital side? You have been supportive to help fund the digitization of building and planning that started in earnest last year, is really wrapping up now. Those documents are changing the way we do business. The permit side, James World, again, he made that happen in 21, where virtually everything connected to a building permit can be done 24/7 online. The land use side, land use action side is a little more complicated. Commissioners, you know very well how plats go and things in neighborhoods. However, one of the things that has changed in working with Vicky, actually the bottleneck on digitizing every part of land use is the requirement for a wet signature on a plat as it's recorded. So we can do everything else digital up to that point. Vicky is working with us and the Surveyors Association to get them over the hump of saying, what's it going to take to put a seal or a stamp and a signature into that digital system so it doesn't have to be recorded by hand. In fact, they're meeting here in Spokane, the state surveyors, later this month, and we're going to talk to them about that. So she's aware of that. Once we get that part done, we will be able to make the land use side fully digital. We won't take in paper unless it's necessary. It will be processed and evaluated electronically, and then set off for digitization. And we're committed to making sure that happens by the end of the year. So next slide, please. Here's where we start to see our real results. And the chart on the lower left, preliminary plats. These are plats submitted in, and the comparative year is, these are all first half of a year number. So what you're seeing from especially 2020, the heart of COVID and the growth in 21 and the growth in 22 is already really significant in the first half. In 2021, there were 5 submitted plats in the first half and a total of 12 for the year. This year, we've got 9 working ones right now. So we're well ahead of that pace. And we've got some information about that as we go on. Short plats are short plats. They come and go, smaller pieces of land. Sometimes they come, especially now they're back pushing along because the opportunity for development, even a smaller parcel, makes more sense to pencil out than they sometimes did in the past. So in 21, the first half, there were 12 submitted and 9 decisions. And for the total year, it was 24 and 17. So the first half is pretty representative, and we're about at that same position. We've got 13 and 9 in the first half of 22. And then final plats, this is good news in a lot of ways, and it's also the baton handoff to my colleague and partner, because as you know, plats lead to building permits in kind of a leading indicator as we talk about. Final plats are up. They are getting recorded. They're not yet getting recorded as fast as we like. Part of that is the digital issue, and part of that is still working on our project management systems to shepherd these plats through our system. So those are the key things. Next slide, please.
So one thing that is kind of, we've dealt with 2 anomalies, one with COVID, code change, energy code change. And now, as we're coming out of 21 and 22, we get hit with another. So price of material, things of that nature. With our permits, you can see on that one's far enough away, I can't see that. So if you look at the residential in 21, submitted 117 and then ready to issue in 21, 114. And then in 22, 220 and 85. The reason I believe that number is decreased is because people are stalling on submittals. They're submitting a variety of stuff and not really, and I have other numbers for you as well that we were able to get this morning. They're not pulling the permits, or they're not getting back to us as timely because they're unable to get items. So let's say a heat pump, you're out 6 to 7 months to get a heat pump. You want a furnace, you're out. A mini split, those things are dragging the industry a little bit. I had conversation with Project Gray, and they're looking for a TCO. The problem is that 2 of their mechanical units won't be here until November. So we're working with them to make sure that we can facilitate with what they have on site so we can keep that project moving. But we're trying to do the same thing with the residential industry. It's just a little compacted. So that's where you're going to see the submitted is going to be soon. In the later half, it's going to be lower than what you're seeing now. I'm forewarning you, and it's because of cost of material and availability of material. So I just want to give you that heads up. I can show you our processing times. We've been able to. Sure. Scott, I have one for you as well. We were able to finally get our reporting system to actually put together what we were looking for. So we'll go to the top right, the new residential. So the first half of 21, that's that huge influx that we went through. and we're able to push through. The orange, now that we've been able to figure this out, is that that's that stop clock. When we say, okay, you don't have everything, or your house plans are drawn incorrectly, we stop the clock and it's theirs. The one thing that Matt Zarecor and Chad and Scott and I are working on is getting everyone to use that stop clock in the building. So that way, Public Works, Environmental Services, wastewater, everyone's using that stop clock so we can accurately track our time and their time, because we may get the review done within 5 days, but they're still waiting for items. They're waiting for a sewer connection fee agreement. They're waiting for things like that. That's not reflected here. So when you see, if you look at the average days to issue, we have 84 on 2021. And then if you look at 22, we're at 66. Now that is with the change that we did in 21, late 21, that helped that piece. But again, we can't, that average day to issue, we can't grab that until we get everyone using that stop clock. And so that's been the primary focus as of late, is having that communication with Matt and his team and Louis Graff, and getting his team on board with using that stop clock. Then we can show that, yeah, we had 441 permits and the average stop clock was 27 days. That's the average time that we told them that the drawing was wrong or the permit was incorrect, and we needed additional information. And then so the total day to get it from the time it came in to issue was 66 days average. 27 of those days stopped. So we're looking at 40 days. So that's the numbers. The concern I have again is with that 638 down to 441 in the first half. Concern is price and availability of equipment. If we're at 6 to 8 months to get a heat pump, a stove, a fridge, those are the concerns the builders are having, and we're working through that. There's emergency rules that we can work through, that we can utilize to keep them moving. It's just knowing the energy code coming, we're going to see this trend for a little bit longer.
So I guess, so my question then, so this is permits issued. So is that to occupancy or to just
out the door?
Just out the door so they can start building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So the fact that they've got equipment that's further out, how does, I mean, I guess I don't see how that affects the initial permit.
So they're going to base it on availability. They're going to time it out. So that way, what they do is they're going to take their draw and then they're going to start building. But they're going to anticipate that they'll be able to get all of this done because they want to sign the final with the homeowner and turn over the house within 5 months, 6 months.
Okay, so this is on, just having gone through my own permitting process, I'm just trying to, this is more on residential homes where they're like a conference home or something like that.
Yes, production
Not-
homes where they're filling up plats.
Versus an individual home where I'm just trying to get my permit so I can start building.
Yes, this,
It's on me, the fact that all my, some of that stuff's gonna get delayed. But
Yeah.
That's just on me getting to occupancy, not permit.
yeah, this is
Okay.
just the permitting piece to get it through the building. And then you'll see the accessory structures have come a long ways. But again, numbers are down. And then the new commercial. This is where I really want to capture that stop clock. So you have in 22, in 21, it was fairly even. But if you look at 22, we have 140 days to issue on average. Why? It should be stop clock or it should be permit issued. We should, so there's a 140 and a 69. That number needs to be closer. And so with outside agencies using the stop clock, then the the average stop clock days will grow and the other one will shrink. And it's just so that way we have an understanding of the flow. Right now, I think where commercial projects are taking the lead, and it'll turn into schools, and it'll turn into more residential. And I think that's how the plats are flowing as well, that they've come in, now we have all these submitted plats. So then commercial is gonna take over this year, and then it'll go to schools and back to residential. Next slide.
So if someone asks us, what's our average length of time to get a building permit? So 39 days is our answer to that now?
On which graph?
So residential construction, someone says.
New residential.
I want to build a house. What's the length of time for a building permit? So 39 days is the answer to that? Okay. Because we've been shorter previously, haven't we?
The problem is our reporting system wasn't what we wanted it to be. So we weren't able to capture the stop clock.
Okay.
That's the trick. Before it gave you the total calendar days, not business days.
Okay.
Now we're able to capture the working days and the stop clock.
Okay.
So again, our goal in building and planning is 7 days.
Okay.
You have, and I tell my people and Scott as well, as we make sure it's a common message. You have 7 days to either write a correction letter or get an approval. From the time it's submitted, complete submittal, until you got 7 days. I think we're working on 8 days right now.
Okay.
But that's just the one piece. So then what we did is we reached out to Department of Health, Public Works, wastewater, and we're trying to pull them in to be able to facilitate that. So everyone's on that 7 day mark.
Okay.
So this, we're hoping, the projection is that we're taking that average days to issue, and that's coming down to, again, 10, 12 days.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what we're after
Okay.
on the new residential.
Yeah, and so I thought we were down to, I thought it was 14 calendar days. I thought we were at that already. Because I mean,
Again, this is our reporting system wasn't giving us that data.
okay.
What we had is our permitting system that was acquired in 2013. The training at the time to create the reports wasn't given enough. And then it's a very limited program until I want to say about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, maybe another company bought it. And so they've expanded what we're able to do.
Okay.
We were not aware that our permit reporting system was as off as it was.
Okay.
But I don't know if Scott, are you pulling up SmartGov?
No, it's different.
Okay,
So
I can send you live data of a permit. Give you a permit number and show you when it came in and how long it took to get out the door.
So how does this compare to other jurisdictions in our region?
66 days is 2 months minus the 27 days. So 30 days,
39.
39. I'm faster than anything on the wet side. I know it doesn't help this area. I think the city of the Valley is pushing for 2 weeks. I don't know where the city's at. I know that they had to go out for plan review. I don't know where they're at.
Okay. All right.
I have not heard back from them.
Okay.
So we on the 159. Okay. So here's the valuations. Valuations are based off of price per square foot. And the fee basis, fee analysis methodology was done in 2010, 2011. That created where the value comes from. Then what happens is as we raise our fees, we adjust to the price index. And so we'll be looking at fees here third quarter to get for fourth quarter.
Right, 23.
Yeah, for 23. So that's where, if you wonder, when I have a $2 million building and the valuation is only 600,000, that's what it's based off of. The actual cost to construct it, not that you picked, you know, $5,000 blinds compared to $150 blinds. So that's the difference. If you ever run across that, that's the difference. They put granite countertop in place of, you know, Formica. And what are we? Not bad. Our commercial is up. That's apartments and warehouses. And then we're down on residential, but this is that ebb and flow that Scott and I talked about before, where the plats are coming in and commercial's taking charge, and then it's going to slow down a little bit, and then residential will pick back up. Because we're down almost 50% on new residential homes. And it could be inflation. It could be availability of products. Next slide.
We'll wrap up quickly here, just give you a couple of quick summary points. The more important one, as we've said, is the italicized paragraph in here, and that's the plat work is always a leading indicator of future homes and future building permits. The lag between the two is factor of the market for sure. Right now, there's still a strong market, but as James said, it's so strong that the suppliers, the supply chain issues are causing backlogs and slowdowns. So that's a really positive look for where we're going in the next couple of years. Next slide. And again, how are we getting there? Along with our CEO, we've been working on creating a project management structure, a project management team structure for our entire system, our continuum from platting all the way through the permitting side. The digitizing of platting is going to help make that happen. But more importantly, this is the individual that will shepherd a project through our building, through the system. So there's a single point of contact and there's accountability through that, so that if something is happening in different departments, there's still one place to go on somebody that's carrying that baton through the system. And so we're gonna really be increasing how that works as we go forward. Our code cleanup project is something we want to do annually. Right now, as you might imagine, things are tight, and we're focusing on codes cleanups that can enhance our development regs, our development process. If we go back to our presentation in January, where we talked about time is money in our values and how we are explicitly recognizing the investment of people putting capital at risk. We're prioritizing code issues that can help make that a smoother, more transparent, more predictable process. And that also goes to the last part, which is what we call our continuous improvement. To simply look at the iteration. If we make an improvement somewhere else, well, what does that mean 2 or 3 steps down the line? Did something else change that we can now bring back into more improvements? So those are the big key things. And I guess that last one, I just reinforced the working with Vicki Dalton. If we can find a way to get that last mile issue of a digitally recordable plat, it will make a significant difference for us. So open the questions.
Yep, we appreciate you putting the information together and providing it to us and helping us understand where we're kind of at in the process. So thank you.
Thanks.
Some of it's science, some of it is crystal ball gazing, and some of it is trying to connect dots that don't always want to connect easily.
Yes, now, well, and I'm happy that the health district, because once we talked about it, I talked to Amelia and Ray down at the health district to try to figure out how to loop them in quicker into the process, so.
The health district, I can tell you, has been very reactive. What they have is they have a notification system set up through our permit tracking. When a permit is submitted, depending on its, is it a residential accessory? Is it a new single family? They'll get notification and they'll know to turn it faster because it's 7 day. So they're usually done within 24 to 48 hours with the project. A residential project, commercial may take longer, depending. But they're usually done in 24 to 48 hours.
Here, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Scott, are we doing miscellaneous?
Just a quick one. Well, I'll have to circle back with Commissioner French. So there's the Thrive and the Ukrainian Relief Coalition has invited the commissioners to a tour of the facility being used on the 16th. And I just wanted to see if we needed to, if there's multiple commissioners going, we want to have Gina add that to the weekly agenda, meeting agenda for the commissioners so they can notice it for the public.
Okay, agreed.
I thought we did. Yeah. So I know Arian sent us some information, I think over the weekend maybe. And so, yeah, that's what reminded me that we needed to talk about that as a board, because if, yeah, two of us are going, we need to notice it, but I was planning on going.
So we'll just plan on adding that to the weekly meeting agenda.
And I forwarded you the information, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll get that.
Okay. And that was all I had.
I think it's 1 o'clock.
I think that's all I have is that. So then that takes us to Scott Busby.
Oh, I think the next matters that Scott and I have, as well as Matt Koza, are executive session items, 2 executive session items, one on Seliger, that's pending litigation that'll take 5 minutes, and then there'll be another one on FutureWise 20 that's also pending litigation that'll be about 45 minutes. And in the executive session will be executive management team, the Board of County Commissioners, myself, Mark McLean, Matt Koza, and Scott Busby.
So I'm gonna just double check. So we expect to take action out of the first one, correct?
That is correct.
And not the second one?
That's correct.
Would we want to come in and out? So if we don't, the second one is 45 minutes, just in case our timing is off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So whatever you choose.
So it might be better, and then we can come out of that one and just, we can adjourn for the day after that one, so we're not. If there's any issues with that, Mark.
No, that's fine. Perfect.
Okay. Are there any other miscellaneous items?
Sewer payment.
They're all technically under the second, so there's really only 2 E sessions with all the matters.
Got it. Just 2. Yep.
Okay, any other miscellaneous items, Scott?
Nope.
Okay, so then we are gonna go into executive session. Jessica, I'm gonna let you state then for the first one, our purpose, and then it'll just be for 5 minutes and who will be in attendance, and then we will come out to take action. And then go, after that action, go back into executive session for the second one.
Yes,
I'll
and
let you do that one.
that is the pending litigation on the Seliger, Lupa, and Matt Koza will be present, the executive management team, Board of County Commissioners, myself, Scott Chesney, and Mark McLean.
So it is 3:50 and we're gonna go into executive session for 5 minutes. And we will come back out and take action if we need to, and then we'll continue our meeting at that point. Okay, it is 3:56 and we are back from executive session. It took us just a minute to get back onto the Zoom. So we are going to take, I believe there may be action. So I'll look to my fellow commissioner.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move for the board to approve the proposed stipulation and order for remand in Seliger et al. Versus Spokane County in the form presented by council or substantially similar, and to authorize council to perform all necessary acts to effect the same.
I will second that. So we do have a motion and a second. And I should say that Commissioner French was absent from that executive session. I'm not sure if we stated that for fact. I think we just said commissioners. So so it's just the two of us in that executive session. So with a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll lose in favor.
Do we need to open this up for
Oh, we do need to.
comments or testimony? Sorry.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes. Yes, so we do need to open this up for public comment, and this is in the matter of approving the proposed stipulation and order for remand in Seliger et al. Versus Spokane County in the form presented by council or similar, substantially similar, to authorize council to perform all necessary acts to that same effect. So I will open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to comment, please raise your hand or hit *9 to unmute, and I will look in the room. I'm seeing no one in the room. Seeing no one on Zoom. Second call for anyone wanting to testify. Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify. I'm going to look around the room, see nobody's running to testify, see no one online or on Zoom. I will now close the public comment and we will take a vote. So all those in favor of approving for the board to approve the proposed stipulation order for remand Seliger et al. Versus Spokane County in the form presented by council or substantially similar, and to authorize council to perform all necessary acts to effect the same. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0 unanimously with the two of us. Thank you very much. We are gonna go back into executive session, but at the end of this executive session, we do not anticipate any action, and we anticipate that we will then adjourn for the day. And we will see everybody next week on Monday. But Jessica, I'm going to have you state the reasons why we're going into executive session and who will be in that executive session.
Sure. So on that one, it'll be pending litigation on the FutureWise 20 action, and it'll be 45 minutes. And in there will be Commissioner Keeney, Commissioner Burns, Commissioner French is absent. Will be the executive management team, myself, and Scott Chesney. And like I said, it'll be about 45 minutes.
And any other attorneys? Mark McLean will be.
Mark will not be here, and neither will Matt.
Okay.
Just me.
Very good. Thank you. So then it is 4 o'clock. We'll go into executive session for 45 minutes. And for 45 minutes, and we will adjourn at that point. If we extend, we will let the record reflect that. Thank you.
Have a good one.